Welcome to Session Sunday. Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards and today's session is focusing around counter-attacking. But before we get into this week's video, make sure to leave us a like and subscribe, and if you missed last week's video, click on the link above. Okay, so moving into the first part of this week's session, we're going to be looking at a 4v2 counter-attacking scenario. But before we get into it, let's have a look at how many players we're working with this week and the equipment that we're going to be using. So we're going to have 14 players this week, including 2 goalkeepers. Okay, so if you don't have 2 goalkeepers, as we've previously mentioned in other videos, you can obviously try and get a coaching goal, a volunteer or a parent. And then if you don't have any of those options, then you can just maybe use small-sided goals or end zones instead of obviously the goals. Or you can even put areas in the goal for the players to aim at, okay? Or you can even create a box for the players to move into before they score. So there's different types of things that you can use if you don't have 2 goalkeepers. In terms of the setup for this part of the session, okay, we're going to be having 30 yards of width and 40 yards of depth. Okay, so we're going to have 10 yards from the end line to the middle each side, and then 10 yards in the middle. And then it's going to be, in terms of the 40 yards here, 10 yards in here and 15 yards either side. And then in terms of the equipment, we're going to be using balls, bibs and cones, okay? But as we've said in the past quite a bit, if you have flat markers, that's even better, okay? Because obviously when you have these areas and you're putting areas inside of the main part that we're using, okay, if you have flat markers, then it means that the ball doesn't obviously change its path if it hits a flat marker. If it hits a cone or a pole, then it's a bit different. It'll interfere with the play. So what we're going to have here is we're going to have 2 teams of 6 plus our 2 goalkeepers. Okay, the play is going to start with the goalkeeper here. They're then going to play to one of the 2 players here. So this could be used as wingers, as midfielders, and then you've got your strikers, attack midfielders in this box. So they've got to play into the box before they go and attack the goal. So the red's going to be attacking this way, blue's going to be attacking this way. Okay, so the goalkeeper plays to one of the 2 players here. As soon as this player receives, they can look to play into the box straight away, okay? Or they can use their other player, and then they can go and attack. So then what we're looking for is movement in this box to receive. So it could be one player decides to come short and then spins off, which could create space for another player to move into. As soon as this player receives, then that means that the attack is live. So they can play instantly back to the player who played into them. They can maybe try and dribble themselves, maybe even turn and try and play out to the other side, which means that, you know, the other player can make a run, and then it becomes a 4v2 scenario. So the 2 blues in here become defenders, okay? And then we've got the overload. So what we're looking to do is obviously use that width that we've got. Can we stretch the play, but also can we play at a high tempo, okay? Because when we're counter-attacking, we're looking to score as quick as we can, okay? We're not looking to be slow. We don't want that ball to stop. We want to be constantly moving. So it can be that player pulls out wide, he might receive it, and then we get that running behind the defence, and then we get our support runs. So it could be that, you know, we have 3 players all moving in the same direction, and then one player holding back just a little bit to be an option to obviously change the play, or if a ball gets intercepted, you've got somebody here to pick up the loose pieces, to then maybe switch it to the other side, and then we can go and attack the goal again, and then look to score. As soon as the play's ended, okay, the other goalkeeper, so the goalkeeper in green here, will then get the ball ready, so you want balls located at the side of the goal. The 2 reds who are in the middle box, okay, so let's say it was these 2 reds, they will go to the back of the queue here, okay, so back to their team here. The 2 blues will come back in here, they're going to be attackers now, and then the 2 reds who started on the outsides here will come in here to be defenders, and then they'll obviously switch to be attackers. So again, the goalkeeper plays out to either side, they then look to play into the middle box, okay, get their support here, kind of be played out, get that running behind, kind of get played through. Where's our support runs coming from? Okay, so for the players, it's about showing that speed and that desire and urgency to get into these attacking areas, and then we're trying to attack the goal and score. So then again, the 2 blues will go to the back of the queue, okay. The 2 blues that were in the wide areas come into here, and then the 2 reds become the attackers. Okay, so for the blues in here, it's about stopping them getting the ball. For the reds, it's playing quickly and then moving into this final third and being decisive and clinical to score quickly. We will now move into our first animation before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2 of this week's session, we're now focusing on a scenario where we're going to be transitioning to then attack. Okay, so we're looking to win the ball back to then go and transition. So what we're going to have for the setup for this part, we're going to have 50 yards of total depth. Okay, so we're going to have 10 yards in the middle here, okay, and then 20 yards either side. Okay, so you just know after 20 yards you start in the box, after 10 yards you're ending, and then 20 yards there to attack. The width is going to stay the same, so 30 yards, so 10 yards in the middle and 10 yards either side, which may look a bit different on here, just so we can have a bigger scale for the markers to go in. So it's a 10 by 10 in the middle, and then 50 yards here and 30 yards out here. So the blue team is going to be the team starting with the ball. Okay, so they're going to have, it's going to be technically a rondo, a 4v4 rondo, okay? And then they're going to have 2 defenders on the outside of here, plus the goalkeeper. And then reds will have their 2 defenders as well, who you can swap over at any given point. Same with the blue ones as well. So what the reds are trying to do is win the ball back and go and attack the goal. When they do win the ball back, it becomes a 4v3. So it becomes the 2 defenders here and the defender on this line. So it's like 2 centre-backs, hold midfielder. And then these 3 players just stay where they are, they don't get involved. So what the reds are trying to do is just keep passes going in areas where we can see the ball. Okay, so keep it going round, because we can see the ball. When they start trying to split and play through, that's when it becomes difficult to win it back. So it's staying compact, okay, you can have players closing down the ball, and then what do we have around that? So we're going to have players obviously cutting passing lanes. So if this player's got the ball here, the only options is to go sideways here, which would mean we'd all shuffle across as well into these areas. Okay, we're cutting the passing lanes off again. It's very unlikely they're going to be able to play over us in this short period because we want to try and limit the touches, so it's going to be maybe maximum 2 touches. Let's say the ball does end up going out, so it might be that a play gets played here and it's miscontrolled. Coach has another ball, play one into the reds, go and attack. Okay, so you want to keep that tempo going. So if there's a misplaced pass or a misplaced touch, which goes, out of the range of play which we're looking at, coach just get another ball and play one into the team that's going to attack. So like we're saying it's about reducing that space for the team with the ball, and then when the chance to pinch it, they might try and play through, might try and be clever. When we win the ball, okay, we instantly go and attack. So the player in the ball, can they travel towards goal? Where's our support? Okay, so can we get some width? Can we get players maybe coming on the outside here as well? Players taking, decoy runs just to take defenders out of play, to create some space for somebody else. And then can we look to get the ball into that final third to then look to score? So for the players, it's being composed. In that final third, it's being clinical. Okay, that tenacity to win the ball back, but also being clever about it and not just trying to win every single ball, closing down the space. And then when we win the ball back, our movement to receive, our movement to create space, okay, ability on the ball, so dribbling, our passing, our first touch, so making sure everything's sharp in that final third, and then being clinical to score. And then once we've seen the Reds score, it'll then be that they'll swap over. So then all the Reds will come on the outside here. All the Blues go on the inside, apart from the 2 defenders who can obviously switch over. The Reds start with the ball, and we're doing the same thing again, except it'll be the Blues trying to win the ball back. Okay, so then again, they might pinch it when they try and play forward. Now where can our support runs be? So we might be winning it in these wider areas, might be winning it central. Okay, so it can be travelling towards goal. You get your support runs quickly, players moving on the outside, pulling defenders away. You might get players making runs across the defence to create space for somebody to come into, and then we look to finish. Okay, so it's picking the right moments to score, but also thinking about how can we support our players in possession as well. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final part of this week's session. Okay, so moving into the final part of this week's session, we're now moving into a small-sided game-based scenario. Okay, so there's going to be 2 aspects of counter-attacking. Okay, so we're going to have, the setup is going to be, again, 50 yards of depth. Okay, you can make it slightly bigger if you want to, if you have more numbers. So we're going to have 2 20-yard zones and then a 10-yard zone in the middle. Again, you can even change it where you have this middle zone even smaller. It's up to you. In terms of the width, it's going to be 40 yards, so 20 yards central and 10 yards either side. Okay, so the team who's going to start with the ball, so it's going to be the Blues here. They're going to have 2 players in the middle zone, 1 player either side in the wide areas, okay, and then 2 players in this area here. So the aim for the team here is to get the ball into these 2 players to then go and attack this side. So then they can get support from the wide areas, or they can get support from these players in here. It can be whatever. more likely the central players, okay, because then these two players can come in here to defend, because obviously we want it to be a bit of balance as well, because all of these central players are going to try and move back. But what we're going to say is the players in this zone here, so the reds, if the ball gets put into here, it'll become a 3v2 or a 4v2 scenario. So if the blues end up getting the ball into here and going in attack, they can get support from their players in here, okay, but the reds can't move in, okay. So if we get the wide players to come in here, okay, they can obviously be defensive cover if the reds win it back and then go and play into theirs, because then it becomes another 4v2. But obviously if they get the ball in here, we're looking for them to attack and then score. And then obviously the incentive for the reds is to win the ball back high to score. Okay, so that's their counter-attack. So theirs is on transition. So we're looking at both counter-attacks when we're moving into space and attacking on transition as well. So it'll start with the blues here. You can obviously play as much as they can. These players are unopposed in this area here. Okay, so obviously they're looking to just maneuver that ball. These players in here are looking to move, to receive it. The reds are obviously looking to press the ball, but also prevent passes into this area. So then if the blues do try and play forward, then it's intercepted. It's still a 4v2, okay, but except this time, obviously, the reds are going to be closer towards goal, so we're looking for those quick, decisive passes or movements with the ball into space to then go and attack the goal and score quickly. So then if the reds do score, the teams will then swap over. So then you'll see the blues move into this area here, okay, you'll get the reds having two players in here and players out there, and then they will look to do the same, looking to play into the middle player. So they can obviously you want to set your team up into a formation, so it could be your attacking midfielders, your striker, your wingers and your strikers as well. So whatever it is, and then you've got your players in behind that. So looking to manoeuvre that ball, okay, keep it moving, get players coming into space. So any players in this area can play through into here, so there's that trigger. Can we get bodies running at the ball? So then these two defenders, can we entice them to come in? Okay, get players moving off the ball to create space, and then looking to obviously attack that space in behind and then score. So it's attacking quickly on transition and getting the balls into areas, okay, so breaking those lines in here to then go and attack the space in behind. So we're getting two different sides of attacking, so counter-attacking and then our transition as well. So then if the blues did win the ball back in here when it's the 4v2, they're looking to play into here quickly, which will have two reds in here anyway. Players moving into space, okay, driving to there, and then again, look to score. So the goal is to always score on transition and score when you get the ball into space. So then obviously if the blues got the ball here and they missed, the reds would then start again in here with the ball, vice versa with the other team. So if you score, you retain possession. If you lose the ball and the other team scores, they will get possession of the ball. And then if you have possession and you miss, then the teams will then swap over. So the incentive is to score every single time. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching this week's video. Don't forget to head over to our website where you can sign up to view all of our exclusive content. And we'll see you next week for another Session Sunday.